Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Luckyeevee, Striker, the Shark, and Mathmachine. Today is our 76th episode, and we continue Jurassic July. Today we're discussing the 2009 movie Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs. So, let's get things started.
What
Hey,
do
look,
the
you know what killed the
dinosaurs? Ice Age!
Obligatory.
Also,
Yeah.
did not know we were starting, so
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all good.
underestimated my headphones reach. But anyways,
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, of course, as we all know, Blue Sky Animation Studios were the ones that did Ice Age, and they're an animation studio that really deserved better than its reputation had. It feels like nowadays, most people really forget them or really are missing them. But back then, Blue Sky did not have the best reputation, and I don't know why, because their movies were pretty much consistently really, really good. Starting off with the first Ice Age, which absolutely holds up really, really well. The animation for 2002, I will go so far as to say it looks better than Shrek. I will actually go so far as to say, in terms of animation, it actually looks better than Shrek in some parts.
I kind of agree. Yeah,
It
Yeah.
does very much so.
Yes.
And how it combines, standard kids movie concepts with some really dark, like, pathos moments is really, really good. Like the part with Manny in the ice cave. Like, I'm 30, and that still brings a tear to my eye. So,
hell yeah. It's also interesting. Yeah, speaking of that Ice Cave, or wait, was it? I don't know if it was that moment or Ice Age 2 that had like the giant freaking thing frozen in ice, but it was probably Ice Age 2. But yeah, they really do cave scenes pretty well, all things considered.
Yeah. But yeah, like I say,
how the villain of the first movie is taken care of.
Yeah,
that too.
yeah.
And I
Cave
believe
certainly
that.
took care of him.
Yep. And I also believe that the first Ice Age was the first voice acting role for one Mr. Jack Black. He was one of the saber-tooth tigers.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. He wasn't the main one. He was one of the henchmen, but I believe this was his first voice acting role in a movie. And of course, later on, he'd do a lot of stuff for DreamWorks, but his first one was at Blue Sky.
A lot of these franchise he voices on have at least something to do with Peaches at one point.
Very good. Well, yeah, this and Kung Fu Panda and Mario. So that's three of them, three different animation studios, and they all have Peaches and they all have Jack Black. Coincidence? Most likely, but it's fun to think about.
I think not.
Coincidence? Most likely.
Perfect. But yeah, Ice Age was one of two Blue Sky movies to get actual sequels. This, of course, in Rio. But Ice Age was the only one to get more than one sequel, this being the third one. And this one is a pretty good time. Like I say, the Ice Age franchise at this point pretty much remain consistent. I feel like this is actually better than the second one, the Meltdown. I was kind of disappointed when I rewatched it.
Not great.
Yeah,
I liked
kind
the
of-
Meltdown. Meltdown was pretty good. It kept some of the both serious and the funny moments. But yeah, I think a lot of people sleep on 3 for just how funny it could be. It like stopped being so serious and started to embrace some of the sillier side of things, which is a double-edged sword in that later on it would kind of, work against it. But here, it works.
Oh, absolutely. And but yeah, like I say, Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs, there's no 3 in the title. I don't know why I keep saying it. But Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs is definitely a really, really fun time, and now we'll discuss about it. The movie begins with a familiar sight of Scrat the squirrel sniffing around for his acorn before coming across the title card.
Oh, man.
And the animation for this one in particular is really good. Like for 2009, they really stepped up their game, This
Oh,
is
yeah.
one of, like I say, one thing you can never fault Blue Sky for is their animation, because even in like the lesser ones like Ice Age 5, it always looked absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's also here and also a thing to know about Scrat. He might as well be the series mascot in more ways than one. Like, seriously.
Might as well be the animation studio's entire mascot.
Yep.
He was,
Exactly.
that's right.
Like, seriously.
I
Was
mean,
it-
he has a
Yeah.
game based on him, so
That
Oh, he
too, that
does.
too.
Interesting. That
Yes,
and
yes.
you know, want to know how Blue Skies ultimately closed themselves out?
Yeah.
Not with a
Yep.
banger of a movie, but with Scrat stopping and being like, I think these antics might need to, take a stop because I need to survive, and how I'm gonna do that? Eating the freaking acorns.
Yep. Like I
The-
said,
the
that was a
last-
perfect. Yep, it
the
went
last thing-
full circle. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Yeah. No, the last thing Blue Sky animated was Scrat finally getting what he wanted.
his
Yeah,
acorn.
a really
Yep.
nice ending. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But in this case, he's still looking for the acorn as he sees it perched on top of a cliff. He has to cross a very, very thin branch to get to it. But just as he makes it up there, he finds a female squirrel named Scratette, who has Scratette, rather, who has a very, shall we say, exaggerated feminine design. And the parts with her like
Absolutely.
swaying her extremely thick hips and batting her eyelids. The animators knew what they were doing, okay? They really, really did.
Yeah,
This
them and
wanted
DreamWorks
me-
absolutely.
I
They
want
yeah.
to the
showed
character
up
design.
way early into the movie.
Oh
Yeah.
hell yeah! Like seriously, this Blue Sky and DreamWorks knew exactly what they were doing with some of their characters.
Exactly,
Like,
yep.
DreamWorks had
To
Gloria,
the character
Matt.
designer who made Scratette, and just ask him, why did you make the female Scrat? Why did you give her hips for days?
We're glad that they did.
Make
We're
it
glad that
obvious
they
she's
did.
a female.
I mean, she's a female freaking proto squirrel that existed during the Ice Age times, or whatever you call it. So,
Yep.
I mean, you gotta go all out and making her both hot and sort of minxy in a way,
Yep.
Good
Yeah,
times.
exactly.
Also, hi, Jordan.
Hey there. Yep, Jordan just joined up in case you're listening. But what happens is the moment of Scrat staring at Scratette in awe ends as soon as he sees that she has the acorn and he gets enraged. He grabs the acorn at the same time as her and he storms off with it. Her crying causes him to reconsider as he decides to share it with her. But then, of course, the two of them fight over it before Scrat knocks her off a cliff. Conflicted, he takes the acorn and jumps down in an attempt to save her. And it's here we get a really funny moment, the first of many funny moments of this movie. The two of them reunite midair as soul music plays before all of a sudden it's cut off because it's revealed she's a flying squirrel. She steals the acorn and she flies off. And Scrat, being a regular one, tries to do it, but he just crashes into the
Oh,
ground.
hell yeah.
Yeah. It's just something
Oh,
about,
man.
like I say, the slapstick in particular is so well done, especially again for CGI. Like
Oh, hell yeah.
DreamWorks and even like Pixar did it, like Monsters Inc. and that, but I feel like Blue Sky were the ones that really got like classic cartoon slapstick and CGI the best, at least at the time period.
Yeah,
find
I
that
agree.
Every movie tried to do a different style of slapstick with Scrat. This one is Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner slapstick.
Oh,
Yep.
hell yeah.
Yeah, perfect description.
Yeah, I love
Absolutely.
Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. Foghorn Leghorn is definitely a close second. But yeah, just seeing him here, but seeing that sort of thing here in action by Fox of all people, it's definitely interesting. Especially considering that at the time, Fox and WB were still buddy. So
That
stuff like
too.
Fox Kids certainly helped things.
Yep. But yep. So what happens next is when Scrat does land on the ground, he is stepped on by Sid the Sloth, who's trying to get to Manny as quick as possible.
Oh, not just the sloth. First it's Manny, then
Yeah.
it's the possums, and then
my
it's
apologies.
Sid.
My apologies. Yeah. Kind of like what happened in the first movie with the beginning of it, and a pretty cute gag. But it turns out that why they are running around is because Manny is busy preparing for his wife's pregnancy. He's holding like a turtle shell filled with water, with Crash and Eddie the possums following closely behind him. And fun fact, Crash and Eddie are voiced by Josh Peck and Sean William Scott of Dude, Where's My Car fame.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh
Wait,
my goodness.
Sean William Scott. Why does Sean William Scott sound familiar?
He was in Dude, Where's My Car with Ashton Kutcher.
Okay.
Yep.
Dude, where's my mammoth?
Nice.
Where's my
nice.
mammoth sister? Oh yeah, you didn't know? That was apparently a canon thing. Crash and
Yep.
Eddie are legit Ellie's adopted brother.
Yep.
which that's certainly interesting. But anyways,
Yep,
back
we'll
to
talk more
Ellie.
about that in a little bit.
He'd probably say, she's spherical.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Miracle!
Yep.
It's spherical.
No,
Perfect.
can't forget
Perfect.
the game of Sphere.
Yeah. Well, she definitely is in this one. But they make it to a cliff as the water begins to pour over right in the camera, and it's this reason that we have to bring up. This movie was originally released in 3D, so there's a lot of moments of stuff going directly into the camera, which I will say this, at least it's better than Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th Part 3D in terms of incorporating it into the movie.
Yeah. And honestly,
It's
even
not
without
like-
3D, it works.
Oh, it does work. It does work.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can watch it with all the 3D effects, and it's not gonna be too in your face like in other movies.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Which I appreciate.
Yep. But Manny just barely stops himself from falling off before Sid runs in, still trying to get Scrat off of him before they all fall off the cliff. We then see Manny stumbling around with a turtle shell on his head. He obviously needs work on his Full Metal Jacket cosplay, with Sid
Just
stuck to
wanna
him as
throw
well.
it to other turtles and get a one up.
That too. But yeah, now we get to see Ellie, voiced by Queen Latifah, shows up and tells him that it was just a kick. Yep. As Manny starts doing cutesy talk to her stomach, which has a really good comedic payoff when it cuts to the rest of the prehistoric animals staring at him with confused and horrified looks on their faces. It's like,
confused and like baffled looks like, bro, what the
Exactly.
fuck?
yep.
Bruh.
And like I say, one thing that is also interesting with this is how Blue Sky would reuse the designs from the first film and pretty much all the sequels with the prehistoric mammals, which it does make sense and it actually does look pretty good. You know, it's a way of reusing designs while having it not be so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But of course, Manny tells all the others that it's a false alarm as they all walk off in annoyance. We then get another funny moment where Sid points out that a female beaver also looks pregnant before she basically just takes her stick and starts beating him on the head with it.
And you're like, you should be happy to be expectant. I was complimenting about you being a great mother. And then she like throws a stick, like implying she does not want that at all.
Yeah, exactly. But Ellie points out that Manny is busy getting carried away, and she mentions that he's sounding more and more like Diego. Before we actually cut to the saber-tooth, he's busy seemingly stalking some prey in the grass, and this moment actually really reminded me of something. The way he comes out of the grass and the way it zooms in on like the deer or the gazelle rather, it really reminds me of a part with Shere Khan in the Jungle Book, enough to where it seems a little intentional. I don't know if that was the case. It definitely reminds me of a similar scene that happens in the original Disney Jungle Book.
Probably
it
like
was.
meant but that they're like a little Easter thing. Who knows?
Yeah, a little Easter egg could be.
Uh-huh.
But the animation during the actual chase sequence is excellent. And like I say, the way that the 3D is done here with the slowdown, it actually works out pretty well. But Diego almost catches him, but his vision starts to become blurry as he stops and pants, causing the deer to get away before returning to taunt him. And this deer is voiced by Bill Hader. So that's definitely
Who is he again?
interesting little cameo. Yeah.
Flintlock
Playing with
Wood.
a chance of meatballs. Yeah.
Oh, Flintlock. Oh, God.
Yep. That's him.
The whole time, that freaking cat was trying to got winded because Age was a bitch, trying to
Yeah.
catch Flintlock Wood when frickin' Officer
Mr.
Earl's dashing past him at breakneck speeds.
If only
Peak
Mr.
physical
T
form.
was here. If only Mr. T was here. Or Terry Crews, because Terry Crews is in the sequel.
Oh man! Wait, he's in the sequel, really?
Yeah, Mr. T replaces Terry Crews replaces Mr. T as the police officer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, boo!
Yeah.
But
Well, Terry
in any
Crews is
case-
still cool. But anyway, getting
But-
back to this movie. Sorry about that.
oh
then
man!
cut-
Oh, that reminds me. Like,
Go ahead.
it's honestly funny, just like hearing that and seeing this deer like freaking go like, "Eat my duds, dingo!" It's like freaking Flint Lockwood, like teasing him the
Doing
whole
it.
time.
Yeah, that would definitely
Oh,
be an
God.
interesting. Someone needs to reanimate it like that right now. But we then cut to Manny covering Ellie's eyes with his trunk as he leads her to an area that turns out to be a playground made out of ice and snow. which it really does look beautiful. Because, like I say, one thing
hell
that
yeah.
they did good with this movie is the animation and especially the backgrounds. They feel so alive despite not using a lot of vibrant colors. There's a lot of like whites and browns in this
Yeah.
section, but it still looks really, really pretty.
Yeah, it's
Manny,
very
then-
it's very impressive. Also, like it also extends some of the more somber moments. They're far and few between sometimes, but when they get to them, it's honestly pretty amazing. It's what the first 3 films are greatly known for, all things considered. The somber moments. Like
Yeah, exactly.
serious, and honestly kind of puts into perspective that Manny, a person who has lost his parents to hunters at a young age, basically making him
Her wife and son.
It was
and
his
not her
wife and kid.
parents.
He lost his wife
Yes.
and kid to the hunters.
Oh,
He was
wait,
the
he
adult
did?
mammoth. Yeah, he was the adult
Yeah.
mammoth. He lost his wife and he lost his son to the hunters.
God, that's
Yeah.
double the size.
That's even worse.
Jesus.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
even worse.
Yeah, so there's that. Him finding new love, and all of a sudden he's a frickin' father. Definitely adds to frickin' pressure.
Yeah.
It's definitely a cause for him to be all like, yeah, this is definitely. I'm gonna need a drink for this.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, like, and especially here of all places, like that chandelier that he made,
It's
definitely took a
beautiful.
lot of time
Oh,
and
it's
shows.
not a chandelier, mobile.
Yep.
Mobile,
It has a
definitely-
series of
yeah, that's what I
mammoths
meant.
on it, and it really
It really puts into perspective how ready he is to open up to love again and to ultimately try and, be a better parent in spite of losing the people that he initially loved. It's a huge
Exactly.
step for him, and it's definitely what makes the first 3 films so special, in spite of the second being technically the lesser.
Yeah,
But in any case.
at least the first original 3. But also, this leads to a pretty funny joke where Sid wondering why he isn't on the mobile, but Crash and Eddie show him their version, which is just garbage hung on sticks. And they say, well, you could be on ours.
Aww.
Yeah, but it's literally just like
is
a
definitely a
rotting
man
fish
of-
and apple core and stuff like that just hung on
Yeah.
a stick.
Oh, yeah.
Sid is definitely a man of little pleasures and
Yeah.
innocent, and definitely innocent intentions. I'll
Yeah.
definitely put it that way.
Yeah.
And he
So-
is also voiced by John Leguizamo, which makes
Yep.
it even better when you realize he also did Bruno, which
And he also did something else that we will mention in a little bit when it becomes more relevant. But
Boy.
for now, Manny is busy trying to make everything so safe. Ellie remarks he's trying to baby-proof nature and mentions that he can't change it. There's a nice little call forward with Ellie bringing up the teen years because that's exactly what we see in the next movie, which would be, Sid attempts to touch a snow statue of himself, and Manny shoos him away, asking if he's a kid, and then he asks Sid not to ask that question.
don't answer that.
Yeah, great.
I'll answer that.
Classic moment, yep. Manny then runs into Diego and tries telling him about the playground before Diego leaves. Ellie notices that something's wrong with Diego and tries to tell Manny to check up on him, but I love how Manny just brushes him off. Guys don't talk to each other about each other's feelings. We just punch each other on the shoulder.
That's definitely a freaking gay thing.
Yeah, well.
And
maybe
one of many,
there's
mind
more.
you.
Yep. There's a lot more of those, and we'll get to them in a little while. But what happens is Ellie then tells Manny to go talk to him. Manny tries to do the punch on shoulder technique to Diego's confusion. But it turns out Diego's a little bummed out because he says that he's losing his edge and he might leave the herd because of it. Manny becomes incredibly enraged because Diego says that he has a boring domestic life and storms off. Diego says to Sid that it's time for them to go their separate ways, and Sid says it'll just be the 2 of us. And Diego says, of course, no, Sid, it won't. And then the great comedic timing. Oh, Crash and Eddie are going to be with us too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
Just
it kind of... Oh, man. It kind of undermines the somber moment, but it absolutely
It
was
works.
worth it.
It really does work out, yeah. But Diego merely walks away as Sid looks sad. Sid tries to make his own herd as he tries to talk cool with a bunch of prehistoric creatures who all run away, which I guess he took lessons from Mr. Krabs there. Hey, how about I join you kids? That's okay, you can have it. Why do old people gotta ruin the fun?
Perfect.
Yeah. But we then get another pretty funny joke with Sid staring at himself in the ice, saying that he still has his looks before it cracks. Sid finds himself in an underground cave, which kind of looks a little like the one from the first movie, which probably was them just reusing assets, but if it was intentional, that's a really nice touch there.
Mm.
But he then notices a trio of eggs and stares at them in wonder. After looking around to see if anyone's there, he tells the eggs he also knows what it's like to be abandoned. We then cut to Sid pulling the eggs above ground. As it turns out, in a really funny gag, he drew variations of his face on them, which got a good chuckle out of me. He attempts to move all 3 of the eggs downhill before one of them begins rolling, causing him just to barely catch onto it. The other 2 roll down as he chases after them, which again leads to a great slapstick moment, like a tree becoming a makeshift sled and him flying off the cliff with the eggs as he catches 2 of them but missing the third. It turns out that Ellie caught the third one in her trunk while doing hanging like a possum, which again, a nice callback to the second movie.
Yep.
But then, of course, he introduces his 3 kids to them, Egbert, Shelly, and Yolko, to Ellie and Manny, the latter who demands that he puts the eggs back and he's not fit to be a parent. Ellie remarks that someone's missing, that someone is probably looking for the eggs, as Manny tells him that he'll find a family, because this leads to, in my opinion, what was the funniest joke of the movie, or at least maybe in the top 3. Oh, someday you'll meet a girl with low self-esteem and no other options and no sense of smell. It really is the funniest joke because how understated it is, and it cuts to just Sid's blank expression. It really works out so well.
It was at that moment I identified with Sid.
Yeah. Sure.
A lot of us honestly can identify with Sid. We're just like,
yep.
Yeah,
Sid
love is definitely a
mentions that-
difficult thing.
Yep. Sid mentions that he's going to bring the eggs back to where he found them and he'll be alone forever, including a fun Superman reference where it said he'll be alone in his ice fortress of solitude, which got a good smirk out of me. He's so alone, he should be in the alone void from SpongeBob. But anyway, he tries to bring the egg. Yep, he definitely would fit in there. But he tries to bring the eggs back as it starts to rain, which has a funny effect in making the faces on them look like they're crying. He brings the eggs into a cavern. His attempts at drying them off only smudge the faces. The sun lights the eggs to reveal the embryos inside of what we'll see in a little bit. Sid cradles the eggs to him, which has a really cute visual gag because it looks like he's pregnant on the shadows of a cave wall. While
That
he's, like, cradling
is certainly
the egg.
an image.
Yeah, definitely a interesting one. But we then cut.
Some people might admire.
Yeah. Well, there's another moment like that later on in the movie, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But we then cut to night, where loud footsteps are heard and a loud roar is also heard, indicating that whoever originally laid the eggs is definitely not happy.
Yeah.
The next morning, we get to see the eggs hatch and reveal that they are a trio of baby T-Rexes who apparently imprinted on Sid and thinks that he's their mother. And they really just look adorable. They're like they're menacing, but they also are so cute the way they did the baby T-Rexes in this.
Yep.
My reaction
Oh,
to
sure.
seeing these 3 the first time was, son of a bitch, these are the cutest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. It's also interesting because, like, you see the most dangerous things on the planet, and yet there was a phase where they, like, look so freaking cute, and you're just like, aww. And then years later you see it, and it's like, oh, hell yeah.
Exactly. And we then cut to a montage where Sid is acting maternal to the T-Rexes, set to the song Walk the Dinosaur, which, for the record, is a song that's not actually about dinosaurs. It's about nuclear annihilation. Look up the lyrics.
Oh, God. It's pretty much like, honestly, it kind of sounds like everyone freaking set off nukes, reset the planet, and it's now dinosaurs all over again.
That's what it is. That's literally what the song is about. But also,
hell yeah, that'd be
more
awesome.
interesting. Yep. What's
I mean,
also
it would
more
kind of be
interesting.
awesome if it actually like came to pass, but it would also kind of be a little dangerous.
Yeah, definitely would. But also, one thing to point out that's interesting relating to this podcast, this is the second time we've discussed a movie with John Leguizamo in a world of dinosaurs, and they play the Walk the Dinosaur song in it.
Oh, yes, Super Mario Brothers.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yep.
If I had a
Unfortunately-
nickel, something.
Yep, exactly.
Innocent reference here.
Yep, but like I said, this montage has a lot of cute little moments. Like one of the T-Rexes sticks their head in the water to see a bunch of piranha, but it chases them away by opening its mouth to reveal its sharper teeth.
Yep. Dino see, dino do.
Yep, Sid teaching the dinosaurs how to sleep exactly like him in the same position with the same movements is really
It's
funny. And
That gag is honestly the best. Like,
yeah, it's an
Sid's
adorable
not
one.
the best parent, but he's certainly a capable one here. And honestly, given how the dinos are like copying everything he's doing, that gag never gets old, in my opinion.
Yep,
This
It
actually
really
is
is.
a really great example of why I like Sid's character when they aren't just doing the stupid, wacky hijinks. He has an earnestness and he tries to him, and that I really do like about his character.
Absolutely, I
definitely,
agree with
definitely.
that.
Like I
Like,
say, you see that most in the first one, but it's relevant in every single one of the movies. Even the fifth one has a couple of good moments, to be honest.
he like actively tries like being a good person in spite of ultimately like everything and everyone basically just straight up shitting on him. It's like Eek the cat, but karma isn't as harsh on him.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep, exactly. But we then see the dinosaurs begin to cry, much to Sid's confusion, which leads to another adult joke because he attempts to get milk from a
This
bull, but he
one.
chases him off into the distance as he screams, "I
I
thought you
thought
were
you
male."
were a
Oh,
female.
yep,
I
over and
love
over. I
that
thought you were a
joke.
female. Yeah, yep. This is
God.
this is around the time when like kids movies really like doing these kind of adult jokes to the parents, and it works out pretty good in this because they don't overdo it. That's what I feel like. They could have easily like overcompensated with it, but they keep it to a minimal, and I think it works out better because when you do get moments like this, or some of the others we'll talk about it in a little while, it really comes as a shock. Like first you're like, did they just say that? And then you realize they did, and then you start laughing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate it.
One of
Yeah,
my some of my favorite adult jokes from kids movies came from this movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
I can definitely see why. But we then cut to more of Scrat and Scratette as they fight over each other for the acorn before they fall into a tar pit. They both wind up in a sulfur bubble as they scream before separating against each other. The acorn, it turns out, is in another bubble as Scratette easily chases after it while Scrat attempts to get his bubble moving. He pokes a hole in it with his giant teeth, which causes him to fly into Scratette and launch her into the distance. His own bubble shrinks as he grabs the acorn, only for him to fall into a mysterious abyss. Then we get another really fun moment here as we cut to Sid and the T-Rexes heading to Manny's playground as Sid realizes that the T-Rex babies are kids and therefore can
Yep.
play in it. We then see the other prehistoric creatures see this and run to play with the T-Rexes as well. And we get to see them create all kinds of chaos and havoc, which are really just too much to list here, but it's really, really hilarious. And Sid's line to, I think, one of the female beer from earlier, "I'm a single mother with 3 kids. Can't I have a little bit of compassion?" is a really, really good one.
Yeah, and also, interesting thing about this actually,
Right.
2 of John Leguizamo's actual kids voiced 2 of the kids in this movie.
That's
So
awesome.
it definitely
That is
shows how
amazing.
definitely
That's
shows
really
how
cool.
much enthusiasm John Leguizamo had for this movie.
Exactly, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he really does such a great job with Sid. Kind of a shame
Yeah.
they couldn't get him back for another one, but we'll talk about that another time. But one of the T-Rexes seemingly eats one of the kids. We then cut to Manny and Ellie as one of the kids flies towards them because, of course, the T-Rex accidentally launched into the distance as the mammal points to the playground. Sid demands that the T-Rex spits out little Johnny before first spitting out a small bird, and Sid's nonchalant response
Little
of, better than nothing is so good. It really, really is.
Little Johnny.
Yeah. Better than nothing. But of course, Manny and Ellie show up just as one of the T-Rexes smashes the mobile, much to Manny's complete anger and disappointment. When they get another great line because Crash and Eddie see the destruction and say, "It's totaled! Yeah, and we didn't do it this time!" It is a really, really great line. Which then leads to another really good one with Sid mentioning, "Well, at least no one got hurt. Except for him and her and those 3. Yeah,
And
a lot of
her.
people got hurt." Again, it's really just the
like
timing and the
crowd.
delivery that works so well.
Yeah.
But
Look at that Atlantis joke. Nobody got hurt. Well, many got hurt.
yeah, exactly, it really did.
Oh god. It reminds me of that one scene from that Billy and Mandy superhero movie Underfist, where it's like, and property damage was kept to a minimum. And then it just zooms out to everything destroyed, and it's like, oh, I hate to see the maximum property damage.
Yeah. We then get another really good joke with Sid trying to mention Manny. Okay, we had some discipline issues today, but maybe if we work on it, things will get better. But of course, Manny just demands that he brings them back. We then get to see what appears to be a large earthquake, as we get a funny joke with the bird mother burying her head in the sand, or the snow rather. Her chick tries to do the same, but just bonks its head and stumbles away. But it turns out to be the mother T-Rex, who is the reason why we're doing this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, the design of this is really, really good because unlike what Dinosaur did last week, Ice Age still made them look cartoony, yet gave them a different appearance from the prehistoric mammals of like the Ice Age. They did a really neat separation between them, and none of the dinosaurs talk, which okay, I guess they don't explain the reason why, but that's all right. But I think it still works out really well because you could tell they're from like a different world, which turns out to be truer than we think. But
Yeah.
they really did a good job with it, you know?
Yeah, peaks and troughs, but it definitely works out for the better in here because, like, again, this is like probably from an era before, like, there were like talking animals. Though I'm probably just thinking too deeply into that.
Yeah. But like I say, her design is really well done and very, very imposing. Crash and Eddie faint like possums in a funny gag. Ellie notes that they're supposed to be extinct, with Manny mentioning, well, that's one angry fossil right there. And like I say, the one shot that's almost like a one shot in that there's no cuts away from it of the mama T-Rex just storming her way through the entire area is so well animated too. You really feel like her size and her ferociousness at this point.
Yeah, that's hard to put in animation too. Anyone seen Teen Teens movie where there's a one shot, really long one?
Yeah. I can kind of see that.
Never heard of it, but
it's a good movie. It's a good movie. I highly recommend it.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
It's really, really good. I highly recommend it too. Sid takes the T-Rex, the baby T-Rexes, and hide in a cave as Manny tells the other animals not to move. Of course, this is ruined by a hedgehog running by and screaming as all of the other animals just flee again. Sid is busy trying to...
it's not Sonic.
Nope, it's not. Nor is it Espinete. Obscure reference right there. But anyway, Sid is trying to calm down the T-Rexes with a song, but the T-Rex lifts the cave mouth up to see her children. I like how Sid tries to protect the babies from their real mother in a way that is almost like a Jurassic World. So I guess Owen Grady learned from Sid on how to stop dinosaurs. You just hold out your arm and you do like a stop motion.
Nay, and it's honestly like, misguided intentions aside, the fact that he's willing to like stand in front to protect his kids, even though he's like facing a freaking T-Rex, it honestly shows the strength of his character a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, the mom seeing him do this is like, huh?
Yeah, and again, they do give her a lot of characterization. You know, she's not just a generic monster. She actually does have a character, as we'll talk more about in more scenes with her. But even during this, you have some good moments. Manny tries telling Sid that the T-Rex, of course, is their mother. And when Sid says he's not sure, Manny's reaction of, what do you want, a birth certificate? Is a really funny one.
He's a dinosaur! Yeah,
exactly.
That was certainly a joke.
But I like how, but then we get another really fun moment with Sid saying, I put in all the work, I raised these kids like my own, and Manny mentions, you did it only for a day. And Sid tells the mother T-Rex that they'll have to go through him, as the mother T-Rex immediately just roars and picks him up with their children before storming off. We then cut to Diego walking in the woods as the deer from before tells him to run. Diego thinks that the deer just wants another chase, but it turns out that he's running from mother T-Rex as Diego stares in shock over this.
Yeah.
Yep. Manny and Ellie follow the footprints into a cave as Crash and Eddie immediately just give up, so they're really good friends there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Truly a bromance worth dying for.
Yep. Manny tries telling Ellie to go back as she presses onward with Crash and Eddie knocking him down. The group make it to a bridge that, in a really cool twist, turns out to be a gigantic dinosaur skeleton, which
that's
looks
awesome.
Cool. Yeah, it really does look cool.
Yeah, it really does. Also, thing to note about Ellie in this movie, like, even though she's like possibly a week at most away from literally giving birth to a baby frickin' mammoth, she has the frickin' gumption to just go down into a pit, hardly caring for her own well-being, And even when someone tries to tell her that, no, you're expectant and that's probably not a good idea, she toughs it out, not stubbornly, but knowingly, mind you. And legit, and in that scene where he's like, you can't really do that, she's like, talk to the trunk. She is.
Yeah, she is
She definitely
badass in this.
gives
She really,
mad.
really
She
is.
definitely gives mad main character vibes here, like even more so than
Exactly.
Manny and Sid. Dare I say?
Exactly. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But now we get to Manny trying to get Ellie to agree on a code word for when she's about to have the baby, which turns out to be Peaches, which apparently Bowser must have heard of this and took this code word as his emblem. Yep.
Yep.
He mentions that
I
they're
mean,
sweet, fuzzy, and
Jack
round.
was right there when he heard that. So in
Yep,
another
that's
life
true.
and
He wasn't.
universe, he got the
Yep,
idea.
he was in the first Ice Age, so maybe he heard that in this one too. But Manny
Indeed.
mentions that they're sweet, fuzzy, and round as Ellie playfully gets offended at him calling her round. So Manny
I
is
mean,
one of us,
honestly, have
apparently.
you seen Queen Latifah IRL? That woman
Yep.
knew exactly what she was doing.
Yep, if you ever seen her in Chicago, amazing, amazing. But getting back to this, the group goes deeper and deeper in the cave, only to find a gigantic lost world type of location that is filled with various dinosaurs. And the dinosaur designs in general look really good. And again, they're not going for a realistic look or like an overly stylized look like some other anime movies. It combines the two, and it really does work out for the best because you really feel that they're alive in a way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, they can be a little odd, but for a Blue Sky movie, they definitely did a good job with the dinosaurs here. Like, they all look unique. None of them are really, like, out of place. They all fit within the world nicely, and yeah, they also lead to some very interesting prehistoric gaffs that some of the Ice Age movies couldn't exactly deliver as well here.
Exactly. And what happens is an Ankylosaurus attempts to smash them with its Thagomizer. Diego shows up and saves the possums as he mentions that he's there to help save Sid. They're then cornered by a cliff, which one thing to notice about this movie, there are a lot of cliffs in this one for some reason. Like I think if you counted all the times so the characters are cornered and there's a nearby cliff or something, it's at least 10 plus times, which kind of surprising, but
Sounds like
I
the
guess
movie
it's
was on edge.
Hell yeah.
nice. Ellie,
also-
season. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, also, it leads to a very interesting moment where Ellie does that one scene from the first Jurassic Park.
Yep, she sees a brontosaurus and she gets an idea to write it down, which leads to a Flintstones reference, of course, as she says "yabba dabba doo" as she slides down its tail.
Also,
But
an
that
interesting thing to note here, I legit, when I first heard this, I was like, what did she say? I thought she said naked lady trying to live, but it was actually pregnant lady trying to live. But that was
a very interesting interpretation the first time. But it turns out that Diego and Manny are launched in the air as they land hard on the ground, with Manny saying, "Never yabba dabba do that again," which pretty good line right there.
yeah. Also,
Yeah. But,
also, it's interesting that Ellie, of all people, was able to land like as soft as possible, implying she's done this sort of thing before. Which, knowing her relationship with Crash and Eddie, and also to an extent with her other and her upbringing, for that matter, she probably did.
Yep. But then we get to see a group of dinosaurs surround them, and it appears like they're finished before we see a horn startling them. A one-eyed weasel rides around a rope before saving them. It throws exploding berries at all the dinosaurs, and then uses one as a smoke bomb. We get another cool reference, which a group of Triceratops leaves a lake before a lily pad rises to reveal Buck with a knife in his mouth. It was actually a reference, I believe, to one of the Rambo movies where that happens. It's a pretty fun reference right there. Yep.
It's pretty funny, honestly. Like him just coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Like
and
that.
honestly, Buck, hands down, is one of the
best characters in the franchise.
He's one of the best things about this movie.
I'd say the franchise.
Yeah,
He is.
he's the Schrodinger's cat cat of comedy in this sense. He's both unhinged yet badass, and that juxtaposition very much works here because, like, he's clearly a few shrimp short of a proper Barbie. To all the Australians out there, but he also but he's also like used to this sort of setting, like things going out of hand to the point where it feels natural to him. He's not fully unhinged, but he's not exactly stable. Like, to him, there are some things that are considered sane while everything else is just insane. Like, the boring is insane while the insane is just ordinary everyday life to him, and it's honestly great. It also helps that Simon Pegg does pretty impressive
Simon
voice
Pegg,
work
of
on
course.
him.
He does a fantastic job. Originally, they wanted Harrison Ford to voice Buck, and I'm so glad they didn't because he was awful in Secret Life of Pets 2. He was just he has no voice acting charisma at all, and I am so glad that they chose to use Simon Pegg because he went from fighting zombies to fighting dinosaurs.
Oh, not just zombies. He fought aliens and freaking a cult
Cyborgs.
of a freaking neighborhood cult. Like
that too.
The great are good.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see him. I kind of want to see Buck saying that.
Some nice on that.
And also Luck, but more on.
We talked about Luck. Yep.
Yeah.
But Ellie mentions that they lost Sid, as Buck nonchalantly mentions that he's probably dead. Ellie and Diego still decide to find Sid as Manny follows them, and Buck's movements and facial expressions are so good. And again, he would be so popular. He would reappear in not only the 5th film, he would also get a spin-off film that went direct to Disney Plus and is allegedly not that good. I wouldn't know about the quality of it, but I'll take them at their word. Buck licks
qualities.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely direct to streaming, but I still have yet to see the rest of the film, so yeah.
Same.
Take it what you want.
Anyway,
typical grab your comic relief and make him the main character of a project.
You just reminded me of Planet Sheen. Thanks a lot.
Very true. Yep. So anyway, Buck licks a series of dinosaur tracks before mentioning that it's a T-Rex carrying her 3 young and a big floppy green thing, which of course is Sid. Diego asks if he got that all from the tracks, but it turns out that Buck literally just saw them going by earlier in a pretty funny gag.
Yeah, it turns out, again, Schrodinger's cat of comedy. He's like, he like does all this tribal native thing. He like spits it, and he's like, "No, I just totally saw them earlier." Like, it's kind of like Banana Joe, honestly. Like, some moments he could be crazy and bizarre, and then another moment he could be like serious and all like, "Dude, what the fuck?"
Oh god, wow, that's interesting. Are they talking about Banana Joe like Bud Spencer? That would also be an interesting crossover right there.
Yeah.
But anyway, what happens is the T-Rex is heading towards Lava Falls, and the part of him telling them how to get there is kind of like Mission Impossible, which Simon Pegg was also in around this time. I think it was his first one, so that's a nice little reference. Manny's remarks are way funnier than I remember as well, which...
absolutely.
Yeah. Buck mentions that there's a giant great beast in the jungle that he calls Rudy. So apparently Buck does not like Chalk Zone very much.
Oh god, Rudy's got the chalks. That would be an interesting crossover.
Definitely would be a fun crossover. Yep.
With Sally the sea monster.
Yeah. The possums are shocked there's something larger than the T-Rex, as Buck tells them that it caused him to lose an eye. But of course they think that it gave him the eye patch instead. Buck just stares at them in disbelief as Manny remarks, "Welcome to my world," before they all set off.
That's a great joke right there. Like,
yeah, it is. It really is.
He's
like,
crazy,
really
but not that crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy, but not that crazy. And like,
exactly.
There are some things Buck will consider what, like I said, Schrodinger's cat of comedy. You're gonna be hearing that phrase a lot.
Exactly.
Also, as a guy that doesn't particularly like the possums, I can understand why other people do. They just don't work for me. I identify with Manny so much in that moment.
Yeah.
I can understand why. So we then cut to more Scrat antics as the squirrel is stuck on the back of a tree before seeing the acorn. He reaches for it before flying backwards and hitting the base of the tree, causing it to collapse on top of him. He then rolls off of a cliff before seeing the acorn and managing to stick it on his chest with sap. The tree then rolls
tar, actually.
Yep, tar.
It is tar, yep.
Right, sorry. The tree then rolls over the other way as Scratette returns to tease him before ripping the acorn off his chest and taking furrow with it. It's like giving him a chest wax, and the ensuing
was the
scream
funniest
echoes
thing.
throughout the jungle. And again, it really is so funny. I mean, maybe describing it
Comedy
doesn't sound
timing
funny, but
here.
yeah,
works.
exactly. The timing of
uh,
all these Scrat moments are perfection. They are so
Yep.
so funny.
Yeah, and it works
Yeah.
because the main gang hears the scream and they say, "Oh, the screams of the doomed."
Exactly. Well, they're very true in more ways than one. But it turns out that the herd is walking through a group of plants that all grow eyeballs and stare at them. Manny sees an exotic fruit and runs towards it to get it to Ellie. Diego warns him about it before a group of vine appears, and it turns out that the grass is part of a giant man-eating plant. Crash and Eddie just charge at it as Ellie just plans to tear it apart. Buck shows up and tells them that he'll have them out before they're digested in 3 minutes. 5 minutes for the fat one, another funny gag. Buck launches himself at the plant before getting himself stuck inside of it. And in another, I think, reference to Mission Impossible, which is a funny one, he uses a pair of roots that look like wires, and he cuts the red one, causing the chamber to fill up with acid. But then he rolls his eyes and cuts the blue one, which causes the plant to explode in a million pieces. The three are unharmed as Buck rides around on a leaf, much like how Link would do.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild right there.
Exactly. Buck remarks that they're tourists as Ellie approaches him and asks him how to bring them to Sid. Buck agrees, then gives him on various rules on how to survive the jungle, which are, at least
Yeah.
some pretty good jokes as well. Pretty
Yeah,
good wordplay
always
in that.
listen to Buck. And rule
Yep.
number 2, stay on the path. And rule number 3, he who has gas, step into the back. And it honestly
Yeah, and
just
one of the possums sadly goes to the back of the thing, which is a pretty good gag. That's a
it's
way
like-
to do that right.
And I was just like at that scene, he's into the gas switch. I'm kidding on that part somewhat, but
Yep.
oh man, it was funny just hearing that
Yep.
and
But
seeing
then we
that.
cut back to Mama T-Rex taking Sid and her babies to her nest. Sid attempts to tell the babies that they'll be fine. She puts down the babies and attempts to eat Sid, but Sid, through some clever maneuvering, ends up in her nose as she sneezes him out. But the mother T-Rex is undaunted by this as she still tries to eat him. We get another good gag with Sid trying to reason that they could split custody on various days. And another joke that got a pretty good laugh out of me. Sid then, the mother then plans on eating Sid before the babies jump in front of her and growl at her. Sid smugly remarks that it's a point for him before the mother T-Rex uses her tail to just knock him into the tree, which he then says, "Oh, the points are tied," in another funny moment. And again, it's a really good moment that we get to see how the baby T-Rexes have such a bond for Sid in a really nice moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very nice. Like,
Yep.
I cannot emphasize
they're
enough
not just
how
wild animals.
adorable these babies are.
Yep. Sharp,
Oh,
you're
what?
saying, sorry.
Of course.
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
absolutely adorable.
This movie establishes that the dinosaurs aren't just wild animals; they actually can think and
Yeah,
act.
they are
Yeah, exactly.
thinking, feeling creatures.
Yep.
Even
We
though
definitely
some are a
get
little
to
more.
Yep, definitely get to see a lot of that. We then cut to the herd making their way across the landscape as Buck warns the possums about Rudy. They see a giant set of eyes before it turns out to be the wings of a giant butterfly. Sadly, it is not Mothra, although that would have been great if it was.
Oh, it would
then we
have been
get-
amazing.
But then we get
And
another
thankfully, it is
really
not
surprising...
Morpho Night.
That too,
Oh,
that too.
Morpho Night too.
Ah.
Oh man.
We then get another good joke as Buck says that he knew the butterfly since he was a caterpillar before he came out. Haha.
Hey, gay joke.
Yep, gay joke number 2. There's a couple more to come. But Diego asks Buck if he's living down there all alone, as Buck tells him it's the greatest life a single guy could have. We then see Buck pick up a rock and try using it as a cell phone, talking to the other end about the herd and that they're going to the chasm of death before embarrassingly say that he loves whoever he's talking to. Diego's completely befuddled stare, followed by Manny's "That'll be you in 3 weeks" is a really good moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, Schrodinger's cat of comedy, right there.
Yeah.
Like, he is both unhinged and the most competent person in the entire frickin' movie, and it's
Yep.
awesome.
It
The
also
group-
really works to have Ray Romano's dry wit just bounce off this pure insanity.
Yeah.
Exactly. It really does work out for the best there. So we then cut to the group making it to the chasm of death, which is filled with an eerie green fog. Buck then gets a makeshift cable car that, in another really cool touch, is a gigantic rib cage of an animal. That, like I say, that kind of theming is really neat, when they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's actually pretty great. Also, foreshadowing for the most part.
Yep,
Because,
it definitely
as
is.
you'll
See
As
why?
you'll-
Yep. It's
Yep.
filled with toxic fumes. As Ellie goes first, he cuts the rope and it disappears into the mist. Ellie turns out to be all right, as Buck then pulls the ribcage up and has the rest go in it. We then cut to the group stuck in the chasm as they end up breathing the toxic fumes, and it turns out the toxic fumes are helium, which leads to some really, really funny moments, like Crash and Eddie beginning to sing like Alvin and the Chipmunks in a really funny joke.
Yep,
Diego
they
and
pretty much
Manny-
ended up in Smilex from Batman 89.
Yep.
Yeah, they also
Uh,
think about Christmas years before the thing was a thing.
Yep,
Mhm.
exactly. Kind of like Flintstones in a way, doing the same
and
thing.
Easter, technically.
And that too. And Diego and Manny also give into it as they laugh hysterically and mocks Buck's accent. And it's at this moment that I never wanted this to happen more in my life. Manny originally was going to be voiced by none other than James Earl Jones. And if he had
Holy
voiced Manny
shit.
in the first one, I would have loved to see him suck helium to do this voice in the third one.
Oh
What the
my
hell would he have
goodness.
sounded
Same
like?
deal with Morgan Freeman, honestly. I kind
Yeah.
of want to hear Morgan Freeman do a helium frickin' voice.
But the group continued to laugh hysterically as they argue with each other, because it turns out that the helium is also toxic, as Buck points to a group of dinosaurs that laugh themselves to death. Buck arrives into the toxic fumes as his voice also gets high, which causes them to laugh hysterically. Ellie rolls her eyes as he pulls on the rope with her trunk and just gets him out of the chasm. The group
Yeah.
continued to laugh as they return to normal, with Manny asking about if Ellie heard him, everything he said, including some things about Sid and about the entire situation. She then brings Bucks, that's still stuck in the chasm. She pulls on the rope as we get to see Scrat and Scratette also run across the ropes. We then cut to the baby T-Rexes chewing on a giant rock before Sid returns with an armful of vegetables. The T-Rexes, of course, kick them off as Mama T-Rex brings them what appears to be a dead bird. Sid argues with her that he raised them vegetarian and mentions how much better his pelt looks in a really hilarious moment. And
Oh,
Mother
gosh.
T-Rex just stares at him blankly and just throws him in a lake in another really funny gag. Sid still tries to make them not eat it, as it turns out the bird is alive. The bird coils itself around Sid as Mama T-Rex just growls at him. Sid just barely manages to run away from her and takes it to a cliff, tosses it off, but it turns out to be flightless and it's eaten promptly by another dinosaur in a really funny moment. We then get probably one of the most amount of characterizations from Mama T-Rex as she trudges off to get a gigantic leg of some other dinosaur.
She always came prepared.
Yep. As Sid tries to communicate with her about their dietary restrictions, the babies just eat the meat off the leg instantly as Mama T-Rex just lets out such a smug little smirk down at Sid, which really is a fun moment. And again, is a really nice characterization that they're not just like mindless animals. They do have character.
Absolutely.
And
This right here is peak.
Yeah.
All the babies are very expressive and it really works for them. The mother does have very minimal facial movements. So when
Yeah.
you see stuff like this, it really works for the character.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
definitely.
they do more with less, essentially.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty
we get
great
some
when
more-
they do.
Yep, and we get some more good characterization out of her as we hear a loud roar as she suddenly looks worried and panicked. Sid wonders what she could be afraid of as she leads her babies to safety while Sid just barely manages to grab onto her tail. We then cut to Buck making a puppet show with 3 dinosaur skulls, much to the herd's complete confusion. Manny wonders if they should keep moving while Buck is busy strangling his own foot to show how unhinged he is, before mentioning that they should just camp for the night. We then see a nice shot of the jungle at night as Buck tells the herd all about various tales of his past, including his encounter with Rudy that causes him to lose his eye. And the animation with this flashback is really, really cool and well done. And this
Yeah.
leads to probably one of the most iconic lines of not just the movie, but the franchise. Were you killed? Sadly, yes. But I lived!
Yeah.
Yeah. which is
Yeah,
a hilarious line.
folks.
And I'm so glad it became a meme because it deserved it. It turns
Oh,
out that he manages to escape the gullet of Rudy by pulling its uvula before escaping. He manages
By
to
going back
rip
and
out
forth and back and forth and back
And
and
back.
forth
that too.
and
back.
back and forth and back and that's a
Yeah.
fun
And
guy.
he stops at one point, and you think it's gonna go on and on, but then he like gets stopped and back and
And
forth
then
until finally,
repeating it.
boom.
Yeah, he busts out of Rudy's mouth and he takes one of his broken teeth to use as a makeshift knife. But they get another adult joke as he prepares to tell them how he used a clamshell to turn a T-Rex into a T-Rachel, which very interesting implications there. But Manny, of course, tells Ellie that she should rest as Buck decides to keep watch. Crash and Eddie also decide we're going to stay up too before it cuts to them instantly falling asleep in another funny gag.
Yeah.
We then see Buck.
Another thing about this moment, he
Go
was
ahead.
legit about to tell a story about how he legit castrated a T-Rex with
Yep.
a clamshell.
Yep,
Like,
that's what they mean by
which honestly
T-Rex to
reminds you of that
T-Rachel.
one. Yeah, it honestly reminds me of that one line from the British puppet show Mongrels, where Vincent Fox is doing a song about how much of an asshole he is, and like one of the animals who are telling all about his deeds of infamy, one of them legit said he managed to castrate me even though the knife was blunt, and I just can't get that out of my head.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Yep. But we then cut to Buck holding a carving as Rudy and saying goodnight to it menacingly. Before we then cut to Mama T-Rex putting her young up in a cave before climbing in it herself. Sid, of course, attempts to scale the rocks, but he can't because, of course, he's a sloth. Sid realizes that he misses his friends deeply as he tries to sleep, and it's here we get another really nice moment with the mother T-Rex picking him up and bringing him to sleep with the others, which, again, a really nice moment.
Yeah, it's the first three really are great with the somber moments, and especially here, like the mom acknowledges that despite his semi-incompetence and the fact that he is kind of a dimwit, she admits internally and to an extent externally that he did a good job keeping an eye on her kids and acknowledges him as such, as a sort of guardian, as you will.
Exactly right there. And
I find that Blue Sky doesn't get enough credit for how good, because they're always attributed to the super wacky hijinks animation. They do not get enough credit for subtle characterization like they're doing with Mama T-Rex.
Hell yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
Agree.
I definitely agree with you there 150%. They really do such a good job with it. So we then, like I say, Sid mentions that she's a softie as Mama T-Rex looks out into the distance. A gigantic shadow comes over the cave as what appears to be a reptilian beast just storms off. Ellie
Possibly
wakes
a
up.
baryonyx, it's unclear, but
Yeah, I thought it was a Spinosaurus actually, but we'll see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. But Ellie wakes up to find that Manny, Crash, and Eddie aren't there. She looks in a bush before suddenly a dinosaur lunges out at her, and in a pretty good fake out, it turns out to be all just a nightmare that Manny is having. He wakes up Ellie and he remarks how he's not a good friend to Sid by getting him in this mess. Buck arrives in the middle of the conversation to tell Manny that he risked everything to save his friend, and in a funny moment, you're not a good husband, you're not a good father, but you're a really good friend. Which again, got another good laugh out of me.
Debatably, he's a pretty good husband. Come on, I'm gonna fight you on that, Buck, but
yeah.
I will say this: he hasn't had the chance to be a father yet. Okay, that's not true. He has. I keep forgetting that he legit had a wife and kid before this, which. Wow, that's a revelation. But
yeah, exactly.
But I'm gonna have to fight you on that, Buck. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can definitely see why. We then cut to some more Scratch slapstick as he and Scratette engage in a fight, which is followed by done in a tango style, which again really funny.
To the masochism tango.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Seemingly gets the upper hand before they both bonk into a cliffside and dangle over lava. We then cut to the next morning where Buck finds some fur that smells terrible, only for it to be Sid. Buck then finds the piece of broccoli that Sid was trying to feed the T-Rexes, and then we see his theories about what happened, which is really, really funny because the first theory he has is that Sid managed to somehow beat the T-Rex to death with a piece of broccoli.
That was
yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, really,
my
really funny. Just the
God.
way, and like the deranged face that Sid lets off, and like the crazed laugh. It really, really is so funny. But of course, Manny and Diego point out that Sid is not that violent or that well coordinated. The second idea is that the T-Rex ate Sid and left the broccoli behind. Manny asks Buck when he went crazy, but the weasel remarks, about 3 months ago when I married a pineapple, which, funny gag here.
That's awesome.
Again, Simon Pegg's delivery really also is what makes it so well done. Diego, of course, points out the crushed trees. As Buck remarks Rudy is closing in. They have to travel to the Plates of Woe.
Plates of Woe.
Yeah. We then cut to Scrat. He's busy trying to escape using Scratette's body as a makeshift rope. He catches the acorn. He then catches the female squirrel as she bats her eyes at him. And he's now conflicted. Does he choose Scratette or does he choose the acorn?
Does he choose life or life?
Yep.
He chose not or not.
Well, he chose he chose the second nut. He chose the second one because he actually kicks the acorn away from him as the two embrace. Lava going off in the background as a gigantic heart appears in a really funny moment. We then cut to the herd making it across the rocks before Ellie stops and groans. It turns out that her water broke as a group of raptors cause a rock slide that separates the rest of the herd from
Time
Ellie.
to have your kid come out, but hey, gotta have some form of drama in this show.
Yep, exactly. She's stuck up on the ledge while the others are on the ground. We then cut to the baby T-Rexes playing as Mama T-Rex looks worried again. Sid is trying to run after them before getting tired. He looks around the area before seeing a truly gigantic pair of feet come behind him. It turns out to be Rudy, which, in a really nice moment, it turns out to be a reflection of only his eyes, and we hear his roar. We don't actually get to see what he really looks like until later, and they really saved it for a good reveal because it turns out to look really, really impressive. Ellie is busy screaming out various names of fruit before finally saying peaches.
Yeah, sounds like she's ordering a fruit salad.
Yeah, another really funny gag there. If only Bowser was there to help out.
If only.
Sid running away from Rudy as he tries to hide before Rudy's claw smashes the ground and reveals lava. Sid finds himself floating on a rock towards a cliff. Buck asks Crash and Eddie if they're ready for adventure, danger, and death as they excitedly say yes to the first two.
He's like, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, exactly. And then, in a really funny moment, Buck then leaps off the cliff with the three of them before he lands on a pterodon, rides it off into the distance. We then cut to Diego and Manny as they barely manage to make it to Ellie. They see the dinosaurs as Diego tells Manny to take care of the dinosaurs as he'll stay with Ellie and help her out. And it's here where the action set piece is really, really well done. Diego is busy chasing one of the dinosaurs and begins again having the blurry vision before managing to snap out of it and throwing it off a cliff before imitating what the deer did in a funny moment.
Definitely a character growth moment.
Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep. Ellie asks Diego if he knows anything about childbirth, as he admits no, but mentions Manny is coming sooner than he thinks. Manny then takes out one of the dinosaurs by crushing against the rock wall in a really cool moment. We then cut to another funny moment where Ellie asks to squeeze Diego's paw with her trunk as she does so with extreme force.
Main freaking character moment right here.
Yep,
she's
exactly.
Absolutely a main character, in my opinion. Oh my gosh, that moment definitely got a lot of chuckles out of me. Like, oh good lordy! Like, she is big, she is strong, and yet she has to get this kid out and that moments like those really accent just how ultimately strong she really is, both in character and in physical. Oh good lordy!
Definitely. But like I say, we also get to see Diego tackling one of the dinosaurs and throwing it off the cliff, but more of them are still coming, of course. And again, this actually has some really good tension to it, which you really wouldn't think the third installment of a franchise would be so well plotted out, but they really do a good job with it.
Yep.
Buck, Crash, and Eddie see Sid and fly down to rescue him before seeing other pterodons following him. Manny actually manages to take out a lot of the dinosaurs with the landslide in a really cool moment. And we cut to Diego trying to help Ellie through her childbirth while still trying to beat up the dinosaurs in another fun moment.
It's pretty great.
Yeah,
And-
it all is
oh,
awesome.
man.
It really is. Crash
Yeah.
and Eddie used the berries from earlier as ammo as they used it to shoot down the other pterodons, which
As
also
a
leads
funny
to another-
moment here, they grab the berries and it shows Scrat and Scratette on the frickin'
tree, like,
branch, and they're
relaxing,
looking.
Exactly. It cuts to them like being completely soft, and it really is a funny. It got a good.
They
laugh
were
out of it.
about to have snoo before they were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry."
Exactly. Sid goes over the waterfall and seemingly perishes, only to be rescued by Buck, Crash, and Eddie, which then leads to the funniest joke of the movie, in my opinion. One that actually got maybe laughed pretty hard for a little bit. They smash up against the ceiling, and it's revealed that they're visible under the ice the whole time, as it cuts to a couple of prehistoric mammals just staring at them with complete, confused faces. That got such a good laugh out of me. It really, really did.
Yeah, it was really great.
Sid then sees the baby T-Rex's chirp over him as the mother looks saddened. We then cut to the second best joke of the movie.
Yeah, honestly, that T-Rex moment actually, like, man, it really shows just how much Sid imprinted on them. In spite of everything, he really meant a lot to them. Even the mom eventually.
Did. Yeah, he definitely did. And it's really good that we get that kind of moment in that. But we then cut to the second best joke of the movie as Diego is acting like he's giving birth, but instead he's
that moment.
Back.
That is great.
Yeah.
That was definitely a moment I did not expect.
You have no idea what I'm going through. Ellie looks at him.
Like, she is again, main character moment here. She is legit in the throes of giving birth, and yet she's like still has enough willpower to be like, push it back, damn it, push it up. Or in the case of my gym partner's a monkey.
Nice. But we then cut to Manny stuffing two of the raptors in the log, but tossing it over. Manny arrives on the legs just as Ellie gives birth to a truly adorable baby mammoth. Manny, of course, wants to name her Ellie, but Ellie suggested a much better name, Peaches, reflecting on Manny's words of it being fuzzy, adorable, and round.
Yeah, and also, again, Latifah.
That too. And we then see Diego actually shedding a tear at this as Sid finally arrives with the rest of the pack, which really brings something interesting that I didn't realize until watching this. Sid is split up from the rest of the herd for a majority of the movie, and it actually works out pretty good. You know, it actually gives him a lot more moments to shine.
Right. That's how the gag of that he finally sees the doctor and it's a boy. That's her tail.
That's his tail.
It's a girl.
That actually made me do a spit take in real life. I kid you not. I actually I was like I had to rewind it. I was like, did I hear that right?
Yeah.
That
was a really well executed joke. Oh my gosh.
Hilarious. Manny and Diego are genuinely happy to have Sid back as well in a really nice moment. Sid is missing his own kids as Crash and Eddie cry over this, and Buck decides to bring the herd home. We then cut to a really adorable montage of Scrat and Scratette in love, but it comes with a really twist. We see the acorn's point of view of this, as it has like a sad soul song about how the acorn feels like brokenhearted over what happened with a Scrat choosing Scratette over it. It's like something you would never expect in a million years, and it sounds so stupid when we describe it like this, but trust us, it is hilarious.
The only time I've ever seen anything weirder for a song montage in an animated movie was Frozen 2, Lost in the Woods.
Yeah.
True.
I definitely see that, but still, this definitely is a very fun juxtaposition. In fact, all the juxtapositions in this movie are pretty great.
Oh, definitely they are. But we then cut to Buck bringing them to the mouth of the cave as he asks them if they'll return, which of course they're not. It turns out that Rudy was waiting for them the entire time, as we get to see just how huge and imposing he is. Rudy is a gigantic albino Spinosaurus, and if you've listened to our episode on Jurassic Park 3, you'll know how imposing they can be.
Oh hell yeah!
Mhm.
Also, I love
Absolutely.
how they do the big reveal too. Like it starts off, well, I'll be seeing you off then, and immediately like he feels something behind him, and he's just like the eyes are behind him, and Buck is immediately just like filled with like a sudden, oh shit, we're not alone. But how he says
Yeah.
it too is also impressive. We're not alone, are we?
Exactly.
And
And
oh
Simon
man,
Pegg really does such a good job as it too, with him making him
yeah.
sound so badass
Again,
in that way.
Schrodinger's cat of comedy over here.
Exactly, exactly. So, what happens then is we get a really awesome montage of Rudy attacking them before Buck leads him on a chase. Manny, Diego, and Sid go back to help Buck. And we get like really, really awesome action set piece here because Buck is almost crushed by Rudy, then is nearly eaten before Diego rescues him in the same way he rescues the possums. The group tie up Rudy, and you think like they defeated him, but he breaks free of his bonds and goes after Sid. Sid is cornered by Rudy, but the mother T-Rex, in an awesome, awesome moment, returns and wrestles Rudy to the ground before
Yeah.
flinging him off a cliff. In
Take
inversion,
note, Jurassic World.
or Jurassic
is-
Park 3 for that matter.
Mm.
Hey, in a
Oh,
way,
gosh.
actually, no, you're right, Jurassic World. This predates that, and yet it's like the T-Rex fighting the Indominus Rex. Were they
Mhm.
inspired by Ice Age 3? We can only speculate.
We shall see.
Yep. But Mama T-Rex and her babies roar in triumph, followed by Sid trying to do the same and failing, of course. The babies then approach Sid as he hugs and embraces them, saying that they'll grow out to be giant, horrifying dinosaurs. Mama T-Rex actually gives Sid a lick of appreciation as she leaves their children in tow. Manny asks Sid Manny says that Sid was a good parent, and then Sid leads to another funny joke with Sid immediately asking if he could babysit, with Manny quickly replying no. But of course, Buck feels like he has absolutely no purpose now that Rudy is dead, as Ellie offers for him to stay with them because they're a weird enough herd already. He agrees to as they all exit the cave, with Buck looking back forlornly. But Buck hears Rudy's roar as it turns out that the giant Spinosaurus is still alive. He heads back to the Lost World again. He happily cheers and actually destroys the bridge and causes a cave-in just as the herd makes it out. Diego says that Buck has finally found the place he wants to be, and we will see more of Buck later on in the franchise with the fifth one and Buck Wild, both of which we'll probably discuss later on the podcast, so stay tuned for
If
that.
they have female dinosaurs.
Yep, which we'll probably discuss. Manny then says he understands if Diego doesn't want to stay, but the Sabretooth definitely wants to be with them. Sid mentions how kids grow up so fast, of course, being what happened with his own kids. We then
Yeah.
see Peaches actually playing in the snow as we cut to really beautiful music playing. And like I say, one underrated aspect of this movie is the score, which is really, really like well done in a lot of ways. You know, you wouldn't expect the third Ice Age movie to have such good music in it.
Yeah,
but
you wouldn't
it has
exactly
some great
expect it to-
tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah,
Yep.
like the music here definitely slaps in many ways.
Definitely, definitely. We then have a really nice moment where it turns out the mobile has Buck on it as we cut to him riding
And other
off on
characters
Rudy.
too.
Yep, and the others in a really, really sweet moment. We then see Scrat and Scratette in a tree as Scrat is busy trying to rearrange furniture.
Insert
Yep,
childhood insert the
Joke here,
freaking
yep.
playground joke here.
yep. As Scrat is busy trying to rearrange furniture, only for Scratette not to be satisfied with any of them. I guess she's taking a cue from SpongeBob when he worked at the Chum Bucket. Over here, a little to the left. How about here? More. Perfect. And Plankton's so angry. It's kind of like that.
Right there.
Yeah. But he then sees the acorn and he tries to sneak away from her. He then
Yep.
reunites with the acorn, only to have a
Yes.
very upset Scratette stare at him. She
A
takes the
very-
acorn for
yep.
herself as the pair fight over it, only for it to create a fissure and cause them to rocket up to the ice. And then we get another funny moment where she tries hitting on him again as the soul music from the beginning of the movie plays
He's
again.
like, he ain't having her shit this
No,
time.
he just caused her to fall back into the lost world. The movie ends with Scrat breaking through the ice and dancing in triumph, only for the acorn to fall in and also get stuck in the lost world as he just screams in anger. And we then cut to the credits, which also play another version of Walk the Dinosaur sung by Queen Latifah in a really cool
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
There was no way they could end it with playing that song again.
Yep.
But yep, Blue Sky would make 2 more sequels of Ice Age, and we are actually going to talk about the 5th one because the 5th one has a female dinosaur in it, which will be interesting when we get to that one.
It
Now,
does?
what's interesting is the 4th Ice Age movie. It was originally going to be about the herd defrosted in modern day times, which would
I
be
blame Scrat
very
for that one.
interesting. Yeah, that would have been very interesting. And
Yeah,
like,
it would have been
would've
better
been
than
like-
the movie we actually got.
probably
but
would
yeah.
have, but unfortunately, we never did get that. But of course, Blue Sky would continue to make some really, really good movies before they would be bought and subsequently shut down by Disney after they bought 20th Century Fox. And I'm just going to go on a tiny bit of a tangent here because it still annoys me to this day. Disney released Spies in Disguise, the last official movie by Blue Sky. More on that in a little bit, but I think they did because they were contractually obliged to release that one. Because I remember when they bought it, they made a statement saying something like, "Oh no, we'll keep them. Don't worry, we will definitely keep them around." Which made me think, "Oh, they're gonna make them animate like TV spin-offs of shows and that, like a Frozen and that." But nope, they just shut them down, which is a really, really dick move that they bought the competition and they just shut it down like that.
It was
That-
a
I think they
massive
lasted
dick
a
move.
year after that statement.
Yeah, absolute, really colossal dick move.
They were totally going to keep it, guys, and all of a sudden,
At the
I'm
very
sorry,
least-
Blue Sky who?
Yeah, exactly.
At the very least, they did manage to release a final project to close everything. One that will be. We will discuss because there is a Dragoness there.
Oh yeah, we will discuss that too. That's going to be a really, really fun one when we get to that one. But that leads us to the question of the week for this week, which is, what is your favorite Blue Sky movie? Now, usually I like to hem and haw over various options and that, but at this point, my number one pick, I want to come on and say right away, it's Robots. Robots, I feel, is my favorite of Blue Sky's movies. It is so funny. It is amazingly well animated. All the designs, all of the various things of Robot City looks so cool. They literally made a thing to have absolutely nothing in the movie organic, and it really isn't. It feels like a world that robots live in, and all the designs are great. You got Robin Williams as Fender, who absolutely amazing. He was some of his funniest work in any movie, animated or otherwise. You have Mel Brooks as Big Weld, and he does a great job. And the story,
Right, that
again,
was Mel Brooks.
yeah, Mel Brooks is Big Weld. And what it is I feel like Blue Sky, for their first 2 movies, was kind of the heir to Don Bluth in that let's do kids' movies and let's have some stuff that really traumatized the kids. Because the first Ice Age had the ice cave with Manny seeing the carving of his wife and his kid being killed, and Diego's near death, which was almost an actual death, by the way. Ooh. And in Robots, we actually get to see the chop shop, which really dark implications,
Pretty dark implications, all things considered, but not too traumatizing, I feel.
I don't know. I feel like it is creepy in a way. It is creepy seeing like these mutilated robots like ripping up robot parts and that. For a kids movie in 2005, that definitely was like some Don Bluth throwback. Not as bad as Bluth, but you can tell they were trying to do that sort of thing. And like I say, all their other stuff is really good. Rio is fantastic.
Oh hell yeah!
Peanuts is fantastic. But I feel like it's the meme with Top Gear. This is great, but I like this. And that's how I feel. Like, Robots is my favorite. Like, not every joke lands, not every character is really well defined, but just something about it in general is such a great movie. And I feel like that was their absolute peak. And again, I'm not saying that any of their movies were bad, far from it, but for my own personal enjoyment, I am definitely going to say Robots from 2005 is my pick. And that's a very underrated movie, and I feel like only now it's getting the respect it deserves, because it definitely does deserve it. So, Angron, what would you say is your favorite movie from Blue Sky Animation?
I definitely agree with you on Robots. It's a childhood classic for a reason. I will also go on a limb and say that Peanuts is absolutely great. It's a lot, and it definitely started a trend of modern day Peanuts, despite being on Apple for the most part. But yeah, I am wholeheartedly gonna have to say Rio on this one. This movie definitely caught me off guard when I first saw it. I'm like, wow, we're really doing this? Like, it was definitely slated up to be basically what Ice Age would be, in spite of the sequel kind of dropping the ball on that. However, I think this movie is a lot better than people give it credit. People call it, because like we got characters like Blue, who basically was slated to be Manny except dorky and voiced by Jesse Eisenberg. We got Jewel, badass and pretty much, more confident than anything. You got two polar opposites, and yet for the most part they work off each other for the most part. Not great, but pretty well. And oh man, I know a lot of people are probably not going to be too thrilled that I'm going to say this, but I think George Lopez really did good in this movie, alongside will.i.am and frickin' Jamie Foxx. And like, oh man, they did a lot of good things in this movie, and I'm really sad that the sequel kind of made them hesitant to do another movie like this again.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame. But no, I definitely see where you're coming from with it, because that's a really great movie.
Also, I'll give special mention to the scrapped Anubis film that never saw the light of day, even though we saw a few freaking key points from it that basically made me think, wow, we were robbed of this hard.
Yep, we were. I could have seen.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
by the
really
way,
would've
we
been
were also
cool.
robbed of a Horton Hears a Who sequel, Horton Hatches the Egg.
Huh.
Oh, yay. I love that book.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So, yep, that's a really, really good choice right there. So, Striker, what would you say was your favorite Blue Sky movie?
I will give special mention to Robots, as that was like a childhood favorite. I would replay that day for days, because it was one of my favorite movies growing up. But I'm gonna have to say Peanuts, actually,
Nice.
because like
I definitely.
it was heartwarming. Plus, I really adored the animation
It's really
style
great
they used
comfort
in it.
food.
Yeah, it is. Plus, I read the comic strip growing up too. So
Same a little bit. I also saw some of the older movies, like it's a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. I saw. Honestly, I can kind of understand the trauma that went into freaking Snoopy Come Home. Like,
Oh yeah, no,
it's
definitely. But
like it's
like I say,
a character everyone took for granted. But now everyone's just like, oh dang, he's gone. Like, it's something. It really gets across how ultimately. It ultimately gets across how much you miss some. You don't. Let me think here. It really gets across the moral that you never know what you have until it's gone.
exactly that. But yeah, no, like Peanuts is definitely considered to be the best movie from them by a wide margin, and it's easy to see why, because it's definitely their most unique movie.
Indeed.
it was, and like at one point, I actually did think that because like the animation styles were so similar, I thought like Captain America. I mean, no, not why did I say Captain America? Captain Underpants
Yeah,
was a
Yeah.
Blue Sky movie. Captain Underpants.
I could see why, because it has a very similar style.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, it was
DreamWorks.
that was a DreamWorks movie.
DreamWorks, yeah. Definitely surprised me too in a way, but
Oh,
yeah,
hell
that
yeah.
is really a good, really a great choice right there. So, Math, what would you say is your favorite Blue Sky movie?
I'm not beating the old man allegations today.
Oh,
Oh, yeah?
Peanuts.
Nice.
what
So
was it? Sorry?
technically you are, since that movie's a little old.
Peanuts.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good one.
I was not expecting how true to the Scholl's comics the movie was going to be. It felt like it could have been one of the specials that Schultz himself headed from back in the 60s.
It
Nice.
very well could, like I said, you're really right about that.
It just felt so genuine and earnest, and just everything was right about all the characters. They didn't try to modernize it. They didn't try to, how do you do, fellow kids? They kept it the core that Schultz made for these characters, and it
Yeah,
worked so
absolutely.
beautifully.
Right, right. It
Hmm.
really did. It really, really looks absolutely amazing, you know?
Hmm.
Yep. Like I say, they really captured the style. And in a way, what it was uh like it's something that totally came out of nowhere for Blue Sky because everyone was like ragging on Blue Sky. Oh, you made Ice Age 5, her. And then this came out. It really blew everyone away. And it turned out to be such a great, great movie.
Oh hell yeah!
That and I kind of do have a
Yeah.
soft spot because this is one of those few times where Charlie Brown, life's eternal loser, actually wins.
Oh
Yep.
hell yeah!
He deserved it. He definitely, definitely deserved it in this case. But
Absolutely,
yeah,
I
that's a
agree.
great, great choice right there. So, Shark, what would your choice be for favorite Blue Sky movie?
Well, you kind of took all the words of my mouth because, yeah, robots too.
Wow.
And, yeah, pretty much everything you said among the character design, they're so varied. They easily pass the Sulit test. The world building, the story, the message. It gets pretty dark in areas like yeah, pretty much everything you said is pretty much I agree on. I think what you didn't mention also was the music. Like the end music is great.
Oh
Several
yeah,
other
yeah. That's awesome. It's
yeah,
like
the underground when
the
you see the
ending dance
factory.
party. That is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And in fact, in the Latin American dub, there's an exclusive song sung by a famous singer there, Alex Sintek. I don't know if you have heard of them, but yeah,
Mm,
it's
that's cool.
really
I like when they do that.
yeah. In fact, he voices the main character on the Latin dub. But
Ooh, nice, nice. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's a yeah. I don't know what else to add. It's pretty much everything you said. So yeah, robots.
Huh. That's definitely a good choice right there. Wow, I'm kind of shocked I hit the nail on the head so good there. So, Jordan,
Nice.
what would you say is your favorite Blue Sky movie?
Oh, that's hard. I would probably. I mean, I love how they did with Ice Age. I think the second one is probably my favorite, but the third is my ultra favorite. I know we're not gonna go talk to that one about someday, but it's gonna have to be How to Train Your Dragons, the series of franchise. I
That's
don't know.
DreamWorks.
That's
Oh,
DreamWorks.
oh.
Yeah.
Well, then that's kind of hard. I probably have to say it would be Ice Age 3.
Oh, that's a
Nice.
good choice.
I mean, there's
Very good
some.
choice.
I mean, the whole thing starts out with just Buck being crazy, being him. Like his full moment is just him being like, "Oh, don't worry, love, I'll save you from those nasty poachers." He just does what he does best in his world, and we do see the rest of the gang. But I think Ice Age 3 is my favorite. I mean, I don't have a lot of Blue Sky favorites, I guess. That's
All
sad,
good.
I
It's all
guess.
good.
Hmm.
It's all good. That's definitely a good list right there. So, Evie, what would your favorite Blue Sky animation
I
be?
think this is the only one I've seen, so I guess that's by default.
Um, I don't know if they did that actually.
No,
Wait, which
like
one?
this is the only one I've seen.
Oh, the only one you've seen. Oh, okay. I see. I see. It's all right. But yeah,
so
no, like I
I
say,
guess this is by default.
oh, well, that's still a good one. Still going. Well, now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale. We rank the Dragoness. In this case, the mother dinosaur from this movie. It's going to be
Mommy
very
dinosaur.
interesting. Yep, Mama T Rex. Yep. I'm going to give her it's a kind of a hard one because, okay, she doesn't talk, but she has so much personality. And it's really, really, you feel like the facial expressions, you really feel everything about her. I'm going to give her a 7 out of 10.
Hmm.
Yeah, because again, I think we pretty much covered why she gets this score in detail, but she really feels like such a fully fleshed out character despite having no lines, just with the facial reactions alone. And I liked that they didn't just make the dinosaurs like generic monsters, and that they actually gave them personalities, which really, really comes off really good in this movie.
Oh
So
hell
yeah,
yeah.
that is definitely gonna be my thing is 7 out of 10 because I think again we've covered pretty much all the reasons, but I just feel like, if she had a little more screen time, she probably would have gotten a little higher score of that. But for what they did do with her, they did a fantastic job, So I really, I was going to change it, believe it or not. Kind of talk myself into it. I'm going to give her an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
Yep. That's going to be my score. So, Angron, what would you give her?
I'm gonna go a little higher and give her a 9 out of 10. Like,
Ooh,
I
nice.
agree with everything that you said, but I feel like they did more with less for her here, and it works a lot. I admit, I do wish they had a little more time devoted to her and like Sid and whatnot to like really flush out the relationship a little bit more. But for what we got, I say it works. All things considered, it really does work. And man, I don't know if she's going to be appearing anytime later, but oh man, she definitely left a pretty strong impact. She's basically, she does a certain character from a certain series we'll cover later better, in my opinion. But yeah, for now, I'm going to give her a solid 9 out of 10.
Awesome. That's a great choice right there. So, Striker, what would you give her?
I'm giving her an 8 out of 10. I thought the character was really fun. And
Nice.
I will absolutely give props to the I will give props to the animators because like the artists, that is,
Yes.
because the
Yeah.
character design on her was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, definitely. They did a really good job with her there. Yeah, I definitely can see why. With the scales and again with the whole facial expressions, it really came out well. So, Math, what would you give her?
I'm going to start this by saying that I think that I was predisposed to liking her from the get-go because her design is very reminiscent to the dinosaur from Meet the Robinsons, who is
Oh
probably
gosh.
one of my
Nice.
favorite dinosaurs of all time. The
I feel
Nice.
that.
head, the little arms, one,
I know him.
Mama
Oh,
Rex,
Classic,
man.
classic.
almost like
That's
him.
kind
Like,
of
you
the
put them
thing I
next to each
got
other,
from
and
that
it's
dinosaur as
stunning
well.
how similar they look.
Yeah.
So I already liked her for that, and Frank Welker is the voice. Does an amazing job with Dinosaur Roar. So no
Nice,
question
nice.
Nice.
there.
Can't believe I forgot to mention that, but oh well.
Hey, bit
I
of a
was-
bias never hurts.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
was really surprised with how well the subtle characterization worked with her. And I was not expecting to see what was effectively a full character arc of her, from her hating Sid and wanting him dead to actually accepting him as sort of a surrogate co-parent of her babies.
I
And that was just
agree. Yeah.
really sweet. And I really liked seeing that the small changes in her as the movie went on. So between my predisposition for her design and my just amazement at the subtle characterization from Blue Sky of all people, I actually am just going to give her a 10.
Nice.
Whoa, nice,
Wow.
nice. Yeah, definitely. Can see why. Wow. Can I spend a 10 out of 10? But that's really great. Shark, what would you give her?
I'm probably gonna go with an 8 out of 10 because, yeah, like you have been commenting the characterization. She doesn't talk, but she's expressive. Like the scene where the kids finally eat the meat and she just makes this smug face. It's the little things that give her characters. And like Angron says, less is more in this case. The design, it's unique. It fits in the universe, and it's not something a generic movie will do with a dinosaur. It has its own uniqueness into it. There's the arc of, like Matt said, hating Sid to accepting him as part of the kid's life. And yeah, it's great. She has a big role, especially at the end. She's basically the one who saves everyone. And I don't know if she shows up in the future because I never got past the fourth movie, but what we got of her was great. So yeah,
Yeah,
8 out
and
of
this
8
one
out of
is
10.
really good. Yep. So, Jordan, what would you give her?
I want to give her a 9 because so we do see we see a lot of expression on her as she's trying to like tell Sid like, okay, I am the alpha here. I know how my kids should be. I've lived my whole life in this Jurassic world. You don't know what you're doing here. And
And
she's
for the
like just
most part, she's
giving
right.
exactly. She's just showing off like, okay, you're just a weird, smelly little thing who thinks you know how to take care of kids. But she sees how like, okay, I respect that you know what you're doing. You're looking after my kids. I see how they react to you and everything. But the best thing is how that huge fight scene we see her and Rudy you cannot say that's not the best thing ever. Just her coming
hell
in,
yeah.
being like
Such a
trying to protect
awesome
Sid
moment.
and everything else. It's just like, holy shit, she is truly a badass. This is what a mom would always do: would fight for her kids or protect a smelly sloth who just came from the above world. So I'm giving her a
Hell yeah.
9.
That's yeah. Yeah, I definitely can see why that fight scene at the end is just so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yep.
agree. Yeah, like
I mean,
hands
they
down.
probably got ideas from previous Jurassic Park movies that we all know. Like, every scene, we always knew there's gonna be a motherfucking T-Rex gonna come out of
Yes.
nowhere and save the day or
And
not.
they did that
But
here too, and it turned out so awesome. It really did.
it does. So yeah, we all know a motherfucking T-Rex is gonna come out of nowhere and be like, "Excuse me, these are my friends. Back up," and there we go.
Interesting fact,
Nice.
there was a paleontology study, to my knowledge, that could 100% guarantee that T-Rexes were pet worthy, in fact.
Interesting.
So-
I did not know that. Wow. It's really cool. So Evie, what would you give her? The mother dinosaur from
I guess 5 out of 10. Like a 2.
Okay, 5. All right, it's all good. It's all good. So I can see why, with discussing that. So that is going to be it for this week. If you have any questions or if you want to send us your idea for an Ice Age 6, you can email us at fiorydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fiorydiscourse. Subscribe to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Ludmillanon, and subscribe to the playlist there. Next week, we will be discussing the 2012 Dinosaur Train episode, the Earthquake/Nursery Car, to continue our second ever Jurassic July. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about this show. It was done by Craig Bartlett, who also created Hey Arnold, in an interesting fact.
Oh boy.
Yep. So have to see if it's as probably might not be as good as Hey Arnold, but we never know. So that's going to be it for this week. And until then, thank you guys so much for listening and take care.
Later, y'all.
Adios.
Bye.
See y'all next week.
Yep.
Adios.